Hey everyone, my name's Christina, and I am going to share my type 1 diabetes story. Um, so I am very newly diagnosed, going on 4 months now, and um, so what forced me to go to the doctor, I probably started about 3 to 4 months before I finally went to the doctor. I noticed like my feet and legs would have horrible pain in them, like sharp shooting pains, pins and needles. I had a feeling at that point, but it was only when I would lay down, so I kind of wrote it off. Maybe I have a pinched nerve, it's fine. Um, and for a while before that, I had still been, I was drinking all water all the time, peeing like crazy, but just ignoring it. And actually, I had made over just about probably over the last couple years, made some major life changes. I actually, in a little over a year, lost a total of 80 pounds. And back in 2015, I quit smoking. So I thought I was doing well. I started taking my health pretty seriously. I'm getting older. I hit 30. I want to be here for my kid. I want to have a long life with my boyfriend. So I better start taking myself seriously and my health seriously. So I made those major life changes. I was feeling pretty good up until, the 3 to 4 months before I went to the doctor with a leg pain. That progressively got worse, but I still was choosing to ignore it. What really pushed me was I started waking up and all day my vision would be horrible, like very, very blurry, double vision, to the point that I was having a hard time driving. So I finally went ahead and went to the doctor, and they ran a panel on me, and my fasting blood sugar was at 342. So it was at 342, and my A1C was above 14%. They so so I was diagnosed as a type 2 at first, put on metformin and told to follow the diabetic diet, sent home. So I followed it extremely strictly, and I took my metformin religiously, and I just watched my numbers continue to climb. I couldn't get it below 350 at any point, and I just wasn't feeling well. I mean, it was awful. And one night I actually spiked to 515, and I was told to go to the ER, where they gave me insulin, got me down to 179, sent me home, and I got home, went to bed, and woke up in the morning, and my blood sugar was back up at 350. So I had a follow-up with my primary, and at that point he put me on Lantus, and that didn't make much of a difference. Within a couple days after my first hospital visit, I was back up to 550. Sent back to the ER, and I was given insulin yet again. Same story. Next morning, spiked again, and then at that point, I was actually in touch with a diabetic nurse, and she was the first one that brought up type 1 to me. She said, "I really don't think you're type 2. I think you're type 1. We need to get your primary to refer you to an endocrinologist so they can run the test." And so I talked to my primary, and he told me, "Well, your insurance wants us to follow the type 2 diabetic diet for 30 days. And if it doesn't work after 30 days, then they'll let me refer you over to the endocrinologist, and she can run the tests." And I said, "Well, I don't think that's going to work for me, because I feel like if I wait that long, I'm going to end up in the hospital." And sure enough, within a couple days, I couldn't hold anything down, couldn't hold water down, was thrown up, weak, could hardly stand up. And my boyfriend rushed me over to the ER, and they pretty much immediately checked me in. And I was checked in and admitted for DKA and an infection. And so at that point, on discharge, the doctor at the hospital prescribed me mealtime insulin and sent me home. And I had a follow-up with my primary, and at that point he was like, okay, this is your third hospital stay. I think I can get insurance to go ahead and let this go through for the endocrinologist. And he did, and I was sent over to the endocrinologist. The tests were ran, sure enough, type 1. So, yeah. So that's my story on the type 1 diabetes, my story. But I'm sorry if this is all over the place. I don't do videos very often, but I felt like this was important not only for maybe somebody else, but for myself. I think it's therapeutic to talk about it. I don't really talk about this much. But in all honesty, it's been extremely frustrating. Even when I was 80 pounds heavier, I really had no health issues. I never had any hospital stays. At all, other than 10 years ago when I had my son. I stayed in the hospital then, but that's not really, I don't think that really counts as being sick, and staying in the hospital. Never really had any major health issues, and now I have this type 1 diabetes, and I'm 32 at this point, and I made a major lifestyle change. And I know that that has nothing to do with type 1. There's nothing I could have done to stop it or cause it, but it's still just extremely frustrating. Also, and I just feel like, in this last 4 months, like I've just been hit from all angles, I mean, not only this diagnosis, but I know they haven't blamed this on diabetes yet, so I'm assuming it's but I now have a herniated disc in my back with a tear, so I'm in extreme pain from that. The leg and feet pain have not gone away. It's actually gotten worse, even now that my blood sugar has been consistently more under control. Actually, my first A1C was above 14%. The one I had just a few weeks ago was at 7.5. So I cut it over half. And just in this last 4 months, I feel my health just deteriorating, and it's scaring me. I went in for some nerve testing today, and I was told there's already nerve damage in my feet. They couldn't find any nerve damage in my legs, thank God, but it does look like I have some nerve damage in my feet. They're already calling it neuropathy. And at this point, I'm just like, is this my life now? To be in pain all the time and have something just rule over me. I'm not trying to be negative. But anyways, yeah, so those are my thoughts, and that's my story. So anyways, I know we all fight every day, and this group has been just amazing, and it feels really nice to be able to say anything here and not be judged. So thank you, everyone. All right, have a good night.